This right here gonna be a cakewalk.
So I seen this post on Twitter from Fergus. If you guys don't know who this is basically a very talented Asuka player. Dare I say one of the best Asukas on the planet, maybe the best. But regardless, this is a very good player. And what they said about the DLC and also the characters who potentially could or could not be DLC caught my attention. And I just want to elaborate a little bit more on this idea that Fergus presented to us. But first, 1, subscribe to the channel. 2, we have this tweet here from Michael Murray where he's talking a little bit about Fahkumram. Someone says, I myself really liked Fahkumram as an avid Muay Thai enjoyer, and I know that Michael Murray is as well. So I wonder who came up with the idea first and how character concepts usually get started. For those of you who don't know, Michael Murray really loves Muay Thai boxing. From time to time, you'll see him talking about who's competing, posting pictures, and also even in the gym himself. And this is why characters like Bruce, Fahkumram, Josie are some of his favorites.
But you know, I'm torn because Bruce, a proper kickboxer, I mean, I know people are going to give me crap on Twitter for this. Believe me, preaching the choir, you know? So I would love to see him back.
Because they embody that punching and kicking style he loves so much. And I see a lot of people do that with Tekken, where they practice some kind of martial arts, boxing or karate or whatever, and the characters that they play in the game is using that same fighting style. That's what's always been so cool about Tekken, is that it really uses a lot of real world, real life martial arts and does such justice to the style, to the art. Michael Murray responds and says, me and Katsu, Harada had a lot of input in the visual design. I really wanted to do a proper Thai fighter, and the timing was good since the TWT finals was in Thailand that year. I'm going to try to find the clip, but I remember Michael Murray saying that when they were designing Fahkumram, he was one thing, but then they made so many different changes to him, so many different alterations to him, to where he kind of ended up being a new character. So they decided to just make him a new character all along. And when he said that, it sounded like at first they were working on Bruce, but they made so many changes to Bruce to eventually where he wasn't Bruce, so they just made him a new character all along. I gotta find that clip. If I do, I'll put it right here. But now let's shift our attention and focus on this tweet from Fergus. It says, I think it's kind of crazy. We're likely just never going to see these characters again. Characters that were regulars till Tag 2 just wiped away from the franchise and replaced. The 4 characters that Fergus gives is Bruce, Beck Duan, Wang, and Christine. Now I want to take a little time and talk about each of these characters because I feel very differently about all of them. I'll start off with Christine. Christine, she's in such a bad position because she is a clone of an icon. Eddie is one of the most iconic characters in Tekken. It's King, Yoshi, and Eddie. Those are the top 3 in terms of icon status. So being a clone of one of those characters is not a good sign. Unless you're Armor King and you're just like incredible, then you just break all the rules. But Christine, she's nothing like Armor King. She didn't build this massive following and this massive fan base, and as a result, when you talk about her being put into Tekken 8, I mean, I just don't see it. Eddie started off being number 1 when he was first added into the game, and he, last time I checked, was like 15, so the character is tanking fast. And you would have to imagine he's more popular than Christine. So where would Christine fall on that list? And in my opinion, I just think it would be too repetitive. I think Christine is a really cool character, but too repetitive. Now, on the topic of Wang, I personally think Wang could show up in Tekken 8 in some point in time, maybe in Season 4, I would say. I don't know if he would show up anytime sooner because there's a long list of really cool characters who I believe is in front of him. Armor King, Anna, Miguel, Bob, Julia, so on and so forth, right? But Wang, the interesting thing about him, Harada always plays around with the idea of, is Wang dead or alive?
30年に至ってはもしいたとしたら105歳。
お前は前作でアザゼルを倒した後、死んではいなかったか？
是的，我死过一回。正是因为超越了生死，才能有现在这样的成就。
人気キャラとして危うく消されそうになったが、実 意深い開発チームのおかげでここにおるというのが実態だろう。
想想，我也可以算作上次没有死吧。
His ending in Tekken 6 is not canon. He never fought Azazel. He never seen Azazel. Yes, he knows of the creature existence, but he never battled him. And as such, he still is alive. Now, when Harada talks about him being dead, he is more so referring to the old age. But in terms of his gameplay, you know, I played a lot of Tag 2, and one character who stood out to me a lot was Wang. I love what this guy offers, and even though Leroy Smith has some few moves of his, I don't think it's enough to where you can call one character a clone or another. I think if they added Wang, I would fully support that. I think he's like a season 4 or later kind of character. There's many characters who I would want over him personally. Now, Beck Duan. Beck Duan, I personally don't want Beck Duan in Tekken 8, even though I think this guy is really cool, what his fighting style represents, just his whole demeanor, his style is really cool. But in my opinion, I don't want him because I feel like, one, Harong has a lot of his moves. They give Harong more and more of his tools every single time. But then two, if they wanted to do another Taekwondo character, which I think they should and possibly could, I think they should give us a totally new take on the character. There's this idea, this concept of the female Taekwondo character. I think it would be better to go with a character like that and give her a whole new look, an identity, a whole new moveset. Redo the Taekwondo fighting style, but make it totally different from what Harong does. The way we have like 5 or 6 karate people, but they all fight differently, do that with Taekwondo. For characters like Beck Duan, I feel like he's out of his era. I like to make a distinction between like legacy Tekken, old Tekken, past Tekken. You talk about Tekken 1 and 2, I think that's an era. Tekken 3 to 5, I think that's an era. Tekken 6 to Tag 2, that's an era. 7 and 8 is his own separate era, and I think Beck Duan currently doesn't have a place in this. And I will also say this too about Beck Duan, he is not dead. This is another character that people think is dead. He is not dead. Once again, he never fought Azazel. He never seen Azazel. He doesn't even know Azazel exists. At least Wang knows he exists. But also, I don't think they should put him in Tekken 8. I think if they wanted to do another Taekwondo character, it should be a totally new take on the style. Bruce is a tricky one. This is why I want to start the video off with that Fakimram tweet, because that's his biggest hurdle. Fakimram having one of the most popular trailers of Tekken 7, also having such strong usage for Tekken 7, it makes his return so hard. I did a video in the past and I said death is not the only thing that he needs to overcome. This is another character that players like to play around with and say, is he dead? Is he alive? In his Tekken 6 story, he was on the battlefield fighting. Someone on the radio told him there's a threat over the hill and to go take it out. We never seen the outcome of that battle. A lot of people like to believe that it was Devil Jin that he faced and Devil Jin killed him. Now, will Tekken go that route? I don't know. They left the story unconcluded, so we don't know. We can only speculate. But on the topic of his gameplay, I mean, I remember fighting Bruce in Tag 2. Tag 2 had an amazing roster, and there's a few characters who I can really remember, like the matchup. And Law, Eddie, Bruce, Raven, of course Yoshi. Bruce, I'm your worst nightmare, used to frustrate me so endlessly, and I would love a chance to rematch that fighting style. I feel like I've grown so much as a player, and when I first fought him, the guy was like brutal, but I feel like that's what Bruce is supposed to represent. Of course, the fan base loves this guy. At the end of Tekken 7, he was one of the most requested characters in the game, as well as Jun Kazama. Now in Tekken 8, his place kind of got kicked back a little bit because we lost a lot of characters. And like I said, with Wang, there's many characters who would come before him. I think with Fakimram being in Season 1, it most likely looks like Bruce will be a character that has to show up in like a Season 3 or a Season 4. I don't see them putting his characters in so soon and so rapidly. They know how people feel about this guy. You also got to take into consideration that his usage was never the strongest. This character more so is a popular character and not a popular in terms of usage character. And if they did bring him back, it would be for the simple purpose of satisfying the community's hunger, their requests that's been made for all these years. Thank you for watching, like, subscribe, and bye-bye.